For years, I believed that I could cheat my way into getting all the benefits of proper sleep through technical fixes. The most obvious is caffeine. I once heard an almost certainly apocryphal story about Elvis that in the last years of his life, his doctor would wake him up by injecting caffeine directly into his veins. When I heard this, I didn't think how awful. I thought, where's that doctor been all my life? For years, I reasoned, okay, I don't sleep enough, but I make up for it with coffee, Coke Zero, and Red Bull. But Roxane explained to me what I was really doing when I drank all this. Throughout the day in your brain, a chemical is building up called adenosine, and it signals to you when you are sleepy. Caffeine blocks the receptor that picks up on the level of adenosine. I liken it to putting a post-it note over your fuel gauge indicator. You're not giving yourself more energy. You're just not realizing how empty you are. When the caffeine wears off, you're doubly exhausted. The less you sleep, the more the world blurs in every way. In your immediate focus, in your ability to think deeply and make connections, and in your memory. Charles told me that even if nothing else was changing in our society, this decline in how much we sleep is on its own enough to prove that our crisis in focusing and paying attention is real. It's very sad to watch this play out and not be able to stop this, he said. It's like watching a crash that's happening. Every expert I spoke to said this transformation explains, in part, our declining attention. Dr. Sandra Kuzi is one of the leading experts on adult ADHD in Europe, and when I went to interview her in The Hague, she told me bluntly, our Western society is a bit ADHD-ish because we are all sleep deprived. It's huge, and it means something for us. So we are all in a hurry. We are all impulsive. We are easily irritated in traffic. You see it everywhere around you. This has been studied and proven in laboratories. You think you are thinking clearly, but you're not. You're much less clear than you could be. She added that when we sleep better, a lot of problems get less, like mood disorders, like obesity, like concentration problems. It repairs a lot of damage. As I learned all this, I had some obvious questions. The first was, why does our lack of sleep damage our ability to focus so much? Surprisingly, this is a relatively new research question. Roxane told me in 1998, when I chose the subject of sleep to focus on for my dissertation, there wasn't a lot of research on what sleep was for. We knew what it was, and we all do it, and it's kind of mysterious. You're spending a third of your life unconscious, not engaging with the world. It was just this mystery. It seems like a waste of resources. Charles had been told when he was a young man there was no point studying sleep because it's a passive process. But in fact, he learned sleep is an incredibly active process. When you go to sleep, all sorts of activities take place in your brain and body, and these are necessary for you to be able to function and focus. One of the things that happens is that during sleep, your brain cleans itself of waste that has accumulated during the day. During slow wave sleep, your cerebral spinal fluid channels open up more and remove metabolic waste from your brain. Roxane explained to me. Every night when you go to sleep, your brain is rinsed with a watery fluid. This cerebrospinal fluid washes through your brain, flushing out toxic proteins and carrying them down to your liver to get rid of them. So when I'm talking to college students, I call this brain cell poop. If you can't focus well, it might be you have too much brain cell poop circulating. That can explain why, when you are tired, you get a hungover sort of feeling. You are literally clogged up with toxins. This positive kind of brainwashing can only happen when you are asleep. Dr. Macon Nedergaard at the University of Rochester told one interviewer, "The brain only has limited energy at its disposal, and it appears that it must choose between two different functional states, awake and aware, or asleep and cleaning up. You can think of it as like having a house party. You can either entertain the guests or clean up the house, but you can't really do both at the same time. A brain that hasn't been through this necessary cleaning process becomes more clogged and less able to concentrate." Some scientists suspect this is why people who are underslept are at greater risk in the long term of developing dementia. When you are sleeping, Roxane says, you are repairing. Another thing that happens during sleep is that your energy levels are restored and replenished. Charles told me that the prefrontal cortex is the judgment area of the brain, and that seems to be particularly sensitive to sleep loss. You see that with even one night of sleep loss, that area of the brain is just not utilizing glucose, which is the main energy source of the brain. It's sort of going stone cold without renewing your sources of energy. You can't think clearly. But for me, the most intriguing process that happens when we sleep is that we dream. And this, I learned, also performs an important function. In Montreal, I went to interview Tor Nielsen, who is a professor of psychiatry there. He often tells people he has a dream job and asks them to guess what it is. After they've run through the list, racing car driver, chocolate taster, he tells them he runs the Dream Lab at the University of Montreal. He told me that some scientists in the field believe that dreaming somehow helps you to adapt emotionally to waking events. When you dream, you can revisit stressful moments, but without stress hormones flooding your system. Over time, those scientists believe this can make it easier to handle stress, which we know makes it easier to focus. Tor emphasizes that there seems to be some evidence supporting this theory and some contradicting it, and we need to know more to be sure. But if it is correct, then we have a problem, because as a society we are dreaming less and less. Dreams occur most during the stage known as rapid eye movement, REM sleep. Tor told me the longest and most intense REM periods are the ones that occur toward the 7 or 8 hour mark of the sleep cycle. So if you're curtailing your sleep down to 5 or 6 hours, chances are good that you're not getting those long, intense REM periods. As he said this, I wondered, what does it mean to be a society and culture so frantic that we don't have time to dream?